I'm constantly looking at ways like, how do I become a better leader? How do I become an even better champion for the team?
And I always think if you don't know your values, you're not as experienced in business as you think you are. And that's a hard reflection to have.
If you as a leader do not have solid core foundational values, it makes it really hard to put the right butts in seats to have people get excited about your mission.
What I realized over time is hiring on values first and skill set second really help.
Welcome to the TrailblazeHers, the space where high-achieving women finally exhale and feel deeply understood.
We are Brittany Anderson and Disha Solanki, two leaders who have built, scaled, exited, and supported multi-8 and 9-figure companies
while carrying far more than most people ever see.
Here we go where most conversations stop.
The burnout, the pressure, the ambition, the identity shifts, the invisible load, and the moments you almost quit.
This is where the real story begins.
Trailblazers.
I'm constantly looking at ways like, how do I become a better leader? How do I become an even better champion for the team? How do I become a better business owner? All of those things. And what's so frustrating to me is when people choose to just fall back on their laurels, right? And not have the gumption to actually grow and evolve and change and become even better. And I think it's just detrimental to business overall.
And I also think that as you grow in business, like you just said, you grow as a person, but you also become realizing that you've got to live your values. So have to be lived values across not just your personal life, but your business life. And you get to know yourself a lot more. So a lot of people say, oh, what's the point of a personality test? Or, we've done lots of them, right, Brittany? But
Yeah.
actually, I think that there's a lot of point about them because you learn so much about yourself. It's not about what other people get to learn about you, but it's what you know about what's congruent with you and how you portray yourself and project yourself and lead a business all at the same time, right? And I always think if you don't know your values, you're not as experienced in business as you think you are. And that's a hard reflection to have. And when I look back, like you said, Brittany, we look back and think, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or I shouldn't have said that, or maybe that wasn't the right decision. And then as you go forward, you think you're still going to evolve and grow. And maybe the decisions you're making now, you think are the right ones, but actually you'll find some other retrospect in time to come. And it shows where everyone is in their business maturity, I think.
I think that is so dead on when it comes to the value alignment, because I think as we evolve in business, grow with our business too, I think it becomes so crystal clear. If we look for our triggering moments, what is it as a leader, as the founder that makes us mad or, gets us fired up or makes us elated and happy on the other side? I think that's where value identification comes from. And if you start noticing that trend and actually having a level of self-awareness and emotional intelligence to really take an intrinsic look, I think that's where those foundational values lie. So I got to scroll down this path, but think about values exercises where,
Yeah.
you're put into a room and there's 50 different ways to cut this, but you're put into a room with your team and you're like, okay, well, what are the things we stand for? How do we serve? Who do we serve? What are we all aligned with? And you end up throwing a bunch of words onto a screen and then you choose the top, whatever, 5 to 7 that most resonate. And that becomes company values. And I think there's so much missing in that process where there's a certain layer deep that you can go. And I think as a founder, you have to set the stage for that. Because, I'll just give this example. If I were to have a certain set of core values and you and I met Disha, how many couple years ago now, and your values were totally misaligned, we would have never gotten into business together. Or if we did, it would have failed at some point and failed probably miserably. So it goes the same way with your team members. If you as a leader do not have solid core foundational values, it makes it really hard to put the right butts in seats to have people get excited about your mission. So I think the value alignment is just so dead on and it takes time. You go back to, the early stages of, your first jobs, your first career, your first business, whatever it is. I mean, who we are as humans at that point in time when we think we have all the answers is so stinking different after having gone through either multiple businesses, some successful, some that maybe aren't so successful, business exits, like all these things just stack the experience and help you, as you said, like get to the core of who you are, what you believe in, what you stand for, and it helps you become an even better business person.
And actually, what I realized over time is hiring on values first and skill set second really helps. It helps the team, it helps cement the core of the business and the foundation of it and what you really stand for. And then when things do go wrong, I say that word loosely because a lot of us don't run businesses that where people's homes are on the line, for example. So we're
Yeah.
not responsible for someone's money, health, or people. So elderly people, children, or whatever it might be, right? So what's the most disastrous that could happen? It will be mainly internal issues, not external ones that another business or a client or a consumer will see. And it's when I look at the best leaders, and I would refer back to a lot of the mentors that I've seen, they've been calm, empathetic, and they're solution focused. And they don't throw their toys out the pram every 10 seconds when nobody listens. And that means it doesn't land anywhere, right? Apart from with themselves. That's not a leadership trait I've seen. And it probably is one that doesn't sit well with me. I like the calm, solution focused way and that method because I know I don't save people's lives. And that's okay. I'm good with that, right? So everything else has to have perspective in the big scheme of life. That's not to say it's not important. It just needs to be kept in the right perspective.
I mean, if we really boil it down, I heard something the other day. It's like we're all children trapped in adults' bodies, just screaming on the inside. And so if you think about, like, I even think about my kids, we'll just say push to my mom limit, where it's just been enough. And if I react by raising my voice or, whatever, my kids they'll maybe like tune in, but half the time they're like, oh, mom's losing it. Get out of the way. But the behavior doesn't really change because they're like, let's just clear out. We're going to let her breathe for a minute. And then we're probably going to go back to doing exactly what we were doing to drive her nuts in the first place. It's really no different with teams, right? So if I would have approached it, and mind you, I am not a perfect mother. Like, I would love to come with empathy and love and all the things in any given moment in time. But sometimes you are pushed to your limits and it challenges you a little bit. But I just think about it in, business and in motherhood. If we're just going to bring these two things together really quick, if I'm able to talk to my kids rationally and sit down and be like, hey, this is what's going on. This is how you're behaving. This is how it makes me feel. This is how I can tell, you're feeling right now. Where are we at here? Right? Like that actually gets a lot further when they're in a rational state of mind. But it's no
And
different
they're
than
open to listening to your voice and anything that comes out of it.
right. I found that sometimes my voice is a nail on a chalkboard for my oldest. I don't know. I don't know when that happened, but it is.
Don't worry, my face says it all apparently. Just look you
Oh,
down.
I get it. I completely get it. But it's no different with teams, right? It's like people just want their inner child to be seen and heard and, valued. I think that's really what it is. So I think when you talk about leading with empathy and, listening and leaning in for solution, I mean, you can have direct conversation. I was in a conversation with a gentleman who has been a brilliant business strategist. And I asked him the question, I was like, what is the hands down best business book that you've ever read in your entire existence? Because this guy has read so many different things. And he was like, honestly, Radical Candor. And it
Wow.
kind of caught me off guard, and I'm like, "Wait, okay, explain." And he's like, "I just think that after working with so many different businesses and so many different founders, that if people could learn to be more direct in their approach, but kind, right? Like, you can be direct but kind, I think it would go so far." And I was like, "That's fascinating to me that that's the book that hits home." So, anyways, it was just a recency conversation, and I think there's so much to be said about it. Communication,
And
how you treat people, empathy, all that.
yeah, totally agree with you. If this episode supported you, share it with a woman you respect and want to lift up.
Join our free TrailblazeHers community, the space where high-achieving women finally feel met.
You'll find the link in the show notes.
Until next time, keep moving forward, keep listening to yourself.
And remember, you deserve support too.